Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Another regional recap going down as always as we're entering our second of the spring split. We've got North America Regional 2 or the 7-Eleven Slurpee Cup Invitational going down and an MVP rewarded actually at the very end. 16 teams in North America, 8 coming in through auto qualification. Those teams: Energy, Phase, G2, Complexity, Space Station, Envy, V1, and Oxygen. Those are the teams that are the top 8 in the overall RLCS point rankings. They get an automatic spot. We then saw Rogue, Torrent, Ghost Gaming, Sonics, Xset, All Mid, Accelerate, and PK come through the closed qualifier that played in a Swiss stage. We talked about that in my recap of that a couple days ago. So if you want to check out that, make sure you guys go do so. But some big storylines to come in. Obviously, we saw Well Ace come in, or Well Ice, clutch it up for Pittsburgh Knights. Curious to see if now with their starting roster, if we're going to see similar results or not. You also saw a multitude of other teams from that closed qualifier showing some pretty solid results, but again, still waiting to see if it was going to be a recreation against the top tier teams. We also saw teams with new rosters starting to find their form. Were we going to get that? Ghost Gaming, one of the conversation pieces from last regional. Was it going to be a fluke? Were they going to recreate it? Things like that we had to ask. A lot of people also at the initial bracket looked at FaZe Clan on the lower side of it and were like, this is probably going to be the freest fight to the semifinals they've ever seen. Their only competition is probably going to be Space Station. A lot of question marks also around Xset, Rapid, and Percy. I talked about it, loving what I'm seeing out of those two. Is it going to come to fruition? Are we going to get to see, with more time, it look better? The day one event started off with a bang. For those that did not get to tune into day one broadcasts across the board, some pretty wild stuff ended up happening. Without me going into too much detail, G2 Esports ends up going to 5 against Pittsburgh Knights, and they were actually down 2-1 in the series at one point. Rogue ends up beating Oxygen as they are starting to find their footing. We think when we get to the lower bracket, it may make you question it. You also saw Torrent, after a really solid play in the qualifiers, going 3-1, 3-0. I forget which one in particular. Also looking really solid. Zanil is the real deal. Been a very good addition to Torrent. They've been looking pretty dang solid. Xset finally started to look a little bit better. Ghost Gaming having some complication. Envy starting to look a little bit better as well, with Illusion being a starter for them. You also saw what is probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in a scrim outside of like brawl conversations. If you guys don't know the context of what I'm talking about, here's a clip with the one and only Beast Mode in Rizzo's little show matches that he did.
They're good, they're just stupid. Rizzo?
Hey, what's up, bro?
Did you just hear that?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
You're toxic as shit.
Oh no!
You're toxic as shit.
No! I didn't mean it like that.
How'd you mean it?
I didn't mean it like that.
How did you mean it then?
I didn't mean it like that.
So some interesting storylines across the board, and then through the lower side, things pretty much as expected with Phase and Accelerate, Complexity, and Sonic. So the big surprises right out the gate in the lower bracket, you had Energy, Ghost Gaming, Space Station already in the lower bracket in the first round. Space Station ends up losing actually to Xset in 5 somehow. They almost won the reverse sweep, but this time Xset is able to hold on, unlike Oxygen, as we've seen in the past. Game 5 was actually a 4-0, which was really surprising. We then get into the upper quarterfinals. You had G2 versus Rogue. I don't think any expected G2 to lose that. Version 1 somehow loses to Torrent. In Torrent's defense, though, they did play quite well. Really good job on defense. Zanil is a nuisance. But the biggest thing I took away from that series from casting was a lot of inaccuracy from version 1. Just felt like every single shot was a little bit off, whether it be hitting the crossbar and bouncing out, or was a little bit wide. Plenty of opportunities, but just could not find the back of the net. Accuracy getting in the way. You then saw Envy clutch up against Xset because they did not have to play Space Station. But in a big surprise, FaZe Clan losing to Complexity. And there was 4 overtimes, and even the one that was not an overtime in game 4 was a 1-goal game that was 2-1. But Complexity able to keep it close, all 1-goal games against FaZe Clan for them, like I said, being overtimes. and Complexity wins in 5 over FaZe Clan. They move on. So that upper semifinal felt like a pretty free path for some of these teams into the upper bracket final, because Space Station and FaZe Clan are now also in the lower bracket. So in this lower bracket, you're now talking FaZe, Energy, V1, Space Station, who beat Ghost, and then Rogue Sonics in that last game. And you're like, what is going on in this regional? Are we in Europe? Are we seeing this depth we've been hearing about? And it was absolutely insane. The better teams did end up winning out. FaZe 3-0 Pittsburgh Knights. Energy ends up 3-0ing Xset. A lot of people who have been harping on Energy. I think in my predictions, I had them making it actually relatively far, because I did think that the more time they get together, the more this playstyle that they've been trying to work on is going to get better. A lot of people counting them out early and giving them a lot of crap for whatever reason. Energy is not a team that's going to be away for quite a while. I didn't think it was going to be 2 weeks that they were going to turn it around, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Then the best game, of my opinion, in that day 1 matchup, FaZe Complexity was pretty good too, but V1 and Space Station going to 5, absolute nail biter. Both teams playing out of their mind. Space Station, a lot of credit, finds a way to suffocate like no other, between keeping, I think, V1 under 20 boost for, I think it was like a solid like 2 minutes at a time, and everything else absolute bloodbath. A lot of really good gameplay between those two rosters. If you guys didn't get to go see that, I highly recommend it. But V1 ends up actually winning that one, and I think that's a big deal. Talking about the big scheme of things, that is, to me, for version 1, make or break on if they go to the major or not. If V1 loses that, that puts them out in 9 to 12th, and with their last result being only top 6, you're talking 9 to 12 and 5-6 placement. That means they basically have to win a regional in order to go to the major. So by them beating Space Station there, they create separation from Ghost Gaming in the standings. It also keeps them in line with Envy and Complexity, because Envy had the exact same placement of them in the previous regional, and Complexity as well. Also, with version 1 winning that game, and the reason why I'm giving it so much credibility is because it does enable G2 to qualify into the major. They've already made it. Because Space Station was that second place previously and is getting knocked down, it basically means no one else can really catch up to G2 with them automatically being top 6. So with a first place and a top 6 place, that basically locks them into the top 5 guarantee at this point, with them making the upper bracket final shortly after, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But that basically, with the way that all these major teams like Energy, FaZe, Space Station, V1, etc. dropping down, it made G2 good to go. So that game actually had a lot on the line for more than just V1, but also G2. So G2 is already guaranteed their way to go all the way to London. So I know they're very happy about that one. Congratulations to them. V1 ends up winning Space Station, and then Sonic's Rogue. This one was a little bit more one-sided than I thought it was going to be. Sonics came out ready to fight, which is weird because Rogue looks like they are starting to find their footing. They looked decent. They got some big wins against stuff like Energy last regional and stuff, and then they lose to Sonics here, which T-Crowd and the guys I know have been grinding really hard. T-Crowd's been stopping by the stream quite a bit and providing some insight for us. So glad to see them being rewarded for it. We then start day 2 of the event on Saturday. We had G2 Torrent, Envy Complexity, FaZe Energy, and V1 Sonics. First match of the day was FaZe NRG, and I feel so bad for FaZe because I don't know what it is about NRG, but they just can't seem to beat them. Energy beats them 3-1, and for a lot of people's surprise, they didn't realize it was only a best of 5. Because normally when you see FaZe and Energy play each other, you're like, yeah, it's later rounds. Because it's only lower round 3, this is a fight to get into top 6. This is for 8-9 spot. It went by quick, but it was a game 1 OT, 37 seconds in favor of FaZe. And then that's it, 3-1, 2-1, and then the longest overtime in RLCS history at 13 minutes and 56 seconds. And there's a really cool stat about this that I ended up tweeting out if you guys didn't see it. So you're talking the 5-minute match plus 13 minutes and 56 seconds of overtime. We're going to round up, just make it easy, make it 14. So you're talking 19 minutes of gameplay in one game. One game was 19 minutes of gameplay. We then go to the other lower bracket round between V1 and Sonics. And because it's such a low scoring game and the overtimes are so short, It was 2-1 with 18 seconds overtime, 2-1 with 1 minute and 51 seconds, and then 1-0. Very low scoring game, went by really quick. The entire series of V1 versus Sonics was shorter than just game 4 of NRG and FaZe. That series was wild. It was absolutely insane. So if you guys didn't get to go watch FaZe and NRG, I know it's a 3-1 in favor of FaZe, or in favor of NRG. I would go back and watch it. We had some really fun matches this weekend. I watched more Rocket League this weekend than I've watched in a really long time. I've been grinding Path of Exile because the new league came out, and it's been up on my other screen, and half the time I'm just sitting in the lobby like watching because it's been so good. So a lot of really fun Rocket League this weekend. Yeah, V1 Sonics, clean sweep, 3-0. And a lot of us just shocked by the fact that one game of Rocket League was longer than an entire series. So crazy things there. We then jumped to the upper bracket, G2 Torrent. I don't think many of us expected G2 to lose there. They actually almost shut them out completely. Torrent, after a timeout, goes 1-0, and then they do end up scoring 2 goals, I think, in the fourth and final game, but it never looked like they had a chance. G2 just overwhelmed them, find them an easy sense into the upper bracket finals. We then saw Envy and Complexity play. This one felt really weird, if I'm being completely honest. Despite Complexity, I think, being a better team, Envy, I think, playstyle-wise, really works out. I was talking to my chat about this one and said my gut goes with Envy, but my brain says Complexity. And should have went with my gut. And Envy did end up winning 4-1. 3 overtimes, a very, very short overtime, especially at the end. 20 seconds, 3 seconds. But yeah, this one was pretty handed. Envy, I think, primarily just facilitates the game really well. I think with them being a little bit more defensive at times, it seems to work out. And as long as... And what seems to be the problem is that Drees and Illusion are kind of playing the same role at times, and there's a little bit of double commits. And when they don't do that, they look really strong. The offense definitely gets in your face. It creates a lot of opportunities, but they're still passive enough to let these counterattack opportunities present themselves. By not pressuring, the other team gets a little bit overzealous, and then they hit you with a counterattack, and it looks really good, actually. So there's a lot of opportunities for Envy, and I think Complexity almost beat themselves here, but I don't want to discredit Envy and what they accomplished. They actually played a really good game. So they end up moving into the upper bracket finals. After their results of top 6 being like a blessing last week, they now find themselves guaranteed top 3. Again, playoff implications are really important because Envy and V1 in the same spots. Complexity also, I think, was in like 8th overall. And with their results, the chance to bump up pretty far in the standings with Energy being in the lowers as well now. So Energy and Complexity kind of fighting in the same positioning. We'll do a bigger breakdown and like playoff scenarios for both regions, primarily NA probably next week and then EU the week after, just so people know going into the 3rd regional what's on the line for wild card and all that kind of stuff too. But we're going to focus major first, then wild card, because that's a lot of math. So after those go down, we then see Energy versus Torrent. Unfortunate for Torrent, 3 overtimes to start, back to back to back. Energy wins 2 out of 3 and then closes out the series. They end up having a really good start to the series, I would say, with Torrent, but just could not find their footing after a certain point. Energy started getting hot, starting feeling, hey, this is looking like a much better Energy. They did control like 90% of the game, it felt like. On the other side of things, V1 versus Complexity. I think V1's playstyle is just better than what Complexity has. I think Complexity just feels like a lesser FaZe at this point. While they do have the creativity and the mechanics, it just feels like they lack the consistent pressure and the, I guess, the star-studded lineup of someone like First Killer to really push at that next level. Not to discredit Shad, AJG, or Razebull. They're all very, very good, but it just feels like they kind of get outclassed, and V1 has a playstyle that works really well against it. Very demo heavy. You try to do this crazy mechanical stuff, Beast Mode's going to challenge you, Com's going to demo the guy in the back, Torment just has a clear to an open net, and they get wide open. So Complexity did win 2 games, both 1-0, and it was almost a sweep, but they did put up a fight, which is good to see. But after a certain point, V1 was just too much. So V1 with a ton of momentum in the lower bracket, Energy with a ton of momentum in the lower bracket, brings us to our lower semifinals, which is Version 1 versus Energy. And this one was exciting. For the most part, it was kind of just kind of sit back and enjoy series, I would say, in my perspective. But Energy actually has a really bad track record recently, I think, against V1. I think they're 0-4 or 0-3. Like, the V1 social media team says, like, days since we lost to Energy, and I think it's like 100 plus. So anytime that V1 and Energy have run into each other lately, it's actually been very, very beneficial for V1. It seems like Fireburner has done a really good job of identifying how to beat Energy, even with the new playstyle. But despite that, it was a really close series. All 1-goal games, except for the 7th game. Everything, like I said, back and forth. kind of the whole like anything you can do, I can do better kind of Nike commercial shit going on, where one player would score, Justin would be like, okay, I can do that too, and then he would go and do something, and just kept going back and forth. But it seems like V1 was always the one striking last. So 2 overtimes, really close series, but eventually V1 does close it out. They win in 7. Energy getting top 4, and V1 guaranteeing themselves top 3. Who's their opponent? We go to the upper bracket semifinals. G2 versus Envy. Envy didn't stand a chance. It seems like G2 has solidified that they are the best team in North America, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Atomic in particular does not look like he is uncomfortable ever again. G2 and the rest of this team just look dominant. Not only do they put up so many shots on game, but then they also have the ability to really frustrate you with their defense. Their defense has become pretty surefire, and they look almost unstoppable. I don't know anybody, if you're talking in a best of 7, having a chance. Like, can't get it done in 5. There's no way you're beating G2, and let alone best of 7s and bracket resets. If they've got an extra series against you, it's almost impossible. So yeah, G2 looking dominant. Envy didn't stand a chance, and they exploited them heavily. A lot of things that Envy can learn from that series. They dropped down to lowers. We already know how this goes. If you drop down from lowers and into the lower bracket final, you are like 70 some. It's like 72% now. It keeps going up. More likely to lose. It's part of the reason why I don't like double elim. So you've got version 1 with a ton of momentum. Envy coming off a tough loss against G2, and it's a 4-0 sweep. V1 makes it look ugly. At first it started to where, yeah, Envy was putting up a pretty decent fight, but even with leads in some of the games, they just fall away. Fourth and final game, 9-2. It got ugly. You even saw people typing in chat like, hey, can we just go next, guys? We get it. You're up 7-0. Let it go. And they kept scoring. So yeah, V1 absolutely dominate Envy. Beast mode, the clip I played at the early day, it does seem like V1 has, especially with the scrim, understands how to beat Envy pretty well. So V1 looking good. Make it to the grand finals against G2. And like I mentioned just a bit ago, I'm not going to waste too much of your time. While it was a good series, 2-1, 3-1, 2-1 with an OT, 1-0. After a certain point, even with the timeout and everything, G2's just too good. It just, after a certain point, like, there's only so much you can do. The big thing to pay attention for those that want to know about V1, no longer is it just Calm going for demos. Beast mode, I think Calm had like 90 something. Beast mode was second overall for the weekend. He had like 50 something or like 40 something. Beast mode had like half the demos Calm did. And even Torment is starting to play off the ball and go for bump and demo heavy. All these players have the ability to, I guess, extend the play if they need be. And with that, you're getting a lot of off-ball play to open up some opportunities because defenses are getting so good. And even with that, G2 just doesn't care. They're fast, they're aggressive, and their defense is incredible. So G2 back-to-back first-place wins. I put out a tweet detailing specifics. We could go back even further. I said G2 look incredibly dominant right now. They're 16-2 in the last 3 events, including the Winter Major, with no signs of slowing down. Someone actually in my replies ended up saying 26-5 in the last 5 events, including group stages of Winter. So, yeah, G2 has not lost in a very long time, and the only losses they have received, V1, NRG, and I think they lost to Shopify Rebellion in the very first Winter Regional game they played. So it has not been teams they're losing to very easily. So, yeah, G2 looks good. G2 looks really good. So, might be best in the world. We'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to this major. Double elimination brings some very unique things in international play. So, a couple exciting things as well coming up, just so you guys are all aware. We are starting to find out teams that are no longer involved and can no longer make like the wild card and stuff. Like, they're out of world's contention. We'll be doing video on updating you guys on that and stuff as well. Because while it's always cool to see like who's still remaining and what the playoff scenarios and stuff are, it's also nice to know like who's out of the running and is playing spoiler. So I'll try to work with Direct, the statistician, and get some math stuff on that, as he's been helping out a lot with playoff scenarios and everything too. And I trust him because it's his job. So that stuff's always really cool. But yeah, really good regional, really exciting stuff. In the next couple of days, if you guys want to know what's kind of on the docket, we've got some voice chat videos coming out I know some of you have been asking about gameplay stuff and liking gameplay. Let me know in the comments when you see those videos if you like those. We've also got a new tournament, that like a $2 million prize pool that nobody knows about coming up. We've also got some Jeopardy we're doing, and just a bunch of stuff between recap and regionals and stuff to keep things fresh and exciting. So with that said, let me know what you guys like. Comments down below. Thoughts on the regional. Did you think it was a good one or not? Were you entertained? And if you guys have made it this far, you probably like the content, so please consider giving it a like, getting subscribed, turn on notifications, trying to hit 50K by the end of the summer. If you guys could help me out there, it'd be greatly appreciated. But I'm out of here. We'll see you in tomorrow's video.